Hi, I'm Brad, and I'm gonna go over some of these, all of these pieces that I've submitted to the Lute Society of America's quarterly. These are all German tablature that I've taken and put into French with the help of Sean Smith, including his rebarring of the Scaramella into 3 from its strange barring and form. There's a couple odd barring choices or rhythm choices that we've retained. So if you see some weird rhythms, we'll go over those and my idea for how to count them. I'm going to be playing on my Alto lute in A for this. My other lute's frets are a little buzzy right now, so I'm going to go with this. But really, it'll be most helpful to watch my hands really more than I guess listen. But we'll whatever helps best. So let's go from the top of what I have here on my list, which is the Rossina, Ein Guter Hofftanz, and also my pronunciation of these is going to be questionable, but you know. So, and please excuse my cat jumping around there. His name is Chill, and the one sleeping back there is Midna. So here we go. To begin the Rossina, I start with using my middle finger, and then I hold the D. So I want to talk about that second system, second measure here. There's a couple different ways I suggest that you could do this. You can move your 1 here, since that gets left open, and then put it back down here. But if you can manage a kind of bar, like starting here on this string, on the first course there, and kind of hinge your finger down like this, then you can lift up that open string here while keeping this finger down. And you get this really nice sound. So moving on after the repeat there. Forgot to put a index finger mark there. And here we want to keep that bass down. Moving on to the triple. So we start with an index finger. We start with the weak beat, and then I bar this here to use my 1 finger to cover both of these strings. So my advice for this is I kind of think of it a little bit bouncy, like a ball, like you have like the sound of the release of the ball and it hits the ground, ta, and it comes back up, then it hits your hand and it hits your hand a little weaker, ta, 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 and you kind of get that sound here, that bounce, pa. Kind of think about that to get the rhythm going. But yeah, I think holding down those basses is really the only thing to look out for in this piece. So let's move on to the Scaramella. I'm going to talk about the not the rebar, but just the as it is here, as it says Scaramella. We have this real big chord here, right? We start out with the this is B flat major, right? So let's talk about what I do in the fifth measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth measure. We're like this, and then I request a 3 and a 2 here, because what we can do is then we can keep this 2 down, move our 3 all the way up to this note here. Oh, it's kind of hard to see. And then put our 1 down, and this can stay resonating over that chord and be conveniently there for the next chord in that sixth measure. So also through this measure 9, keeping your first finger down is really helpful. And so for that penultimate measure, holding down these, you get this beautiful resolution out of that dissonance. So holding those notes, very important. So pretty straightforward, this one, I think. And so the rebar has pretty much the same idea, but just a different kind of rhythm feel for it in 3. So let's move on to the Zart schon Frau, Gedenken schau. And this one, a little trickier. Let me see. So anyways, let's get into this. There's a couple odd things in here. So we start out with okay. Whoops, I didn't index there. I have it notated for middle finger, but anyways, this part I didn't write. So the second system first measure, I didn't say to hold this C, but you should hold this note because we get a nice resonance there. So for this part, I suggested 1. Yep. And if you hold that D there, it sounds, you get cool dissonance that resolves into the next chord. Then fermata. Then the measure after that, we have a rest, and then also holding this to resolve into this in the third system second measure. And then we have it coming up again. Oops, right here, so we have resolve. Just make sure to pay attention to those basses that get held. let's see. So I think for the third measure, if this helps to say, is preparing your third finger. So we have da, 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 da. That third finger is already hovering right here. So the third measure, the third beat, we have 1, 4, but then comes up that 1, 3. So our 1 has to move. But as our 3 comes down, use that time to move, to shift the 1. The 3 is already there, just hanging out. And now 4 is hanging out. So I hope that helps with Zart schon Frau. Moving on to Ich weiß mir ein stolzer This one's tough. I think this one is pretty tough. And it's going to involve a lot of finger movement, a lot of finger stuff that I'm going to go over. So let's start out with easy enough. We have this open, and then this, and then first finger, and I use my middle finger here. So, in measure second system, measure 4. So we have dum dum bum dum bum bum. So that, my advice for this, since in the next measure the 4 moves down, or it moves, you know, up to a higher course. At about this point, when I hit this bass, right after I hit this bass, I relieve the tension in my pinky. I just let my hand relax. Like, press down with your pinky on that note, on that third, on that D, and then just release it. But let your finger still be stuck to the string, right? Like, just release and you're still kind of stuck. Release, or, you know, put tension, release. Tension, release. It is at that point of release that I just drop my finger down to the next course. That's my tip for being able to move, at least, you know, like that, without having to let go and jump there. You don't have to like jump there. You can just let go, move down, and press into the next fret, and that's hopefully helpful. The penultimate measure also, I hold this, the 4th finger here. So yeah, that is Ich weiß mir ein stolzer I've heard a recording of this where people, they'll play it da 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 bum 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 bum, and then they'll do a repeat of it and they'll go and give it a little bit more bounce. So have fun with it. Have fun with the rhythm. Make it your own. But I also, so measure leading into the third system, first measure is the same thing with the third finger, that D. Just instead of it being your pinky, it's your third finger, and you just relax that and move it down here. Da, da, dee, da, 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 bum, bum. Yeah, nice piece, beautiful, nice. All right, now we move to these great little dances here, the Hupff Auf. And then the Hupff Auf zum Hofftanz and the Guter Hofftanz. So the Hupff Auf here, the new Untitled Hupff Auf. This one involves a lot of finger shifting. So the 2-3, 4-1, 2-1, or 2 open, and then just slide. Kind of put your pinky down and slide it like da 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 da. So let's talk about everything. There's a lot going on here, so a lot to unpack. So ordinarily I'd say when you have something like this, which you have this chord, that sometimes it's easier to just form the complete chord with the rest of your fingers, but you're going to need that fourth finger for the third measure. You're going to need that fourth finger. So I would say don't put that down, just, and then fourth finger is ready now for this. And then we're going to jump over here with 4-1. But you see, do you see what my left hand is doing? It's kind of hard to explain, but it's really just one easy sliding movement. So the second finger is here, but now my first finger is here, and my fourth finger is now here. Just one easy little slide. And then when we go into this big chord here, what happens is, second finger here, my fourth finger is already ready to go down. My first finger is already ready to go to the first fret. So we already have half of, 3/4, I can't do math. We already have 2/3 of this chord done. We just have to shoot our finger up here like a rocket and hit that note, right? That's all we have to do. All we have to do. But it's coming from here, right? It's coming from here to here. That's a big leap. So what helps kind of make that easier is when you're putting these fingers down, you kind of shoot that one up and bang, now it's up here. So bum, 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 bum. And then the really hard part is that third finger here. Is now putting down, how can I say, this one. Now this finger has to go down. And not only that, it goes down. Now it has to relax and move up right here. So bum, 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 bum. A lot of movement going on, and let's go right after the double bar line. There we go. Dum, bum, bum, bum. So now we have this full what is it, F major chord, right? So yeah, this is a little tough right here because we have to relax our pinky finger. This is the after the double bar line in the second system, it's the second measure going into the third. So then so I hope that visually that helps make that make sense, and you can kind of see how my hand moves. And I'm not sure how much you can see me having pressure and relieving pressure in the video. That is what's happening with these slides is it's not that I'm exaggerating how much silence goes between me lifting up my fingers, but that's what's happening, but very quickly. So, give it practice letting go of your fingers if you need to, and give it that exaggerated pause. But musically, we want to eliminate that sound of pause. We want it to sound like we're going from chord to chord as quickly and as seamlessly as possible. But if it's difficult for you to get here, then let your fingers come up and then go slow with it and let your fingers get used to pressing down and then releasing and shifting. So let's move on to Hupff Auf zum Hofftanz. And we have I guess my hand was a little low. I'll go a little. I'll move up on this. But anyways, fairly straightforward. 4 does a lot of work on the 3rd fret. Da, 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 and then 3 here just. I think this could be a 4 also. Third measure you could. But I like the 3 at the end of the 3rd measure here on the C because the next measure, 2 can just go down here, and then what's in the 4th measure? What's the last beat? The 3 is there, and then just 1 down. So the 3 is conveniently there. Convenient. Almost like Brad planned it. And then right here, the 3rd to last measure, hold that 3rd finger here because it helps wrap this chord up really nicely. And yeah, that's Hupff Auf zum Hofftanz. There's a couple hold the bass moments, but really, so my thought process for using the 3rd finger, I hope, is apparent and helps give you ideas when you're reading music or sight reading, that thinking ahead to forming chords, so we have this this chord, and we may not be using the whole thing, but we're using a part of it, and then we're shifting into something that uses that finger in an accessible way. So let's move to Ein Guter Hofftanz, and this one is the Guter Hofftanz to the Hupff Auf zum Hofftanz. So there's a ton of similarities in this one, ton of them, and we're going to use a lot of the same fingerings. So we're at 4. Oops. I know rhythm's kind of weird there. So so the second measure, that first beat is 2 beats. The first chords, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and we want to hold that C. Whoop, that 2 there should be a 3. That is my apologies. That should not be a 2. I am so sorry about that. So in the end, I changed to 1-2 here instead of 1-3 because, and I might have just played it actually 1-3, but I changed it to 1-2 because the second to last measure, your 2, is going to be needed on that note. So let's make it easy on ourselves. I'm trying to think. So yeah, there are some quick runs in this. I think this song sounds really good slow, and it sounds good fast. You know, ba da da dum ba dum dum da da dum da da dum ba ba bum bum, or as I flub my own fingerings. But I think that this sounds really good, and I think you don't have to take this one and go flying with it. Take your time with it and get used to having the fingerings down. They're really, in my opinion, helpful, despite that one error. So if I'll say one more time, second system, second measure. If we're holding this with our second finger can't be used up here. It has to be our third, so that's a third finger. Da 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 da. All right, let's move on. I'll do this one last. So edler art here. This one is I think pretty difficult. There's a lot of movement and a lot going on, but really rewarding in the difficulties. So it's 2 voices, and there's a couple runs in between those voices that give it a little bit of difficulty. And there's a lot of rhythm in here. There's a lot of different rhythms. So I think the idea is to go fast, but don't go fast. You see that it's like, it seems slow. You're like, that's probably a good tempo. Like, don't go bum 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 bum. You're gonna find yourself in a hurry real quick and in a trap. So let it be slow. Listen to the voices. Listen to the octave. Slide that second finger down. First finger here, because then it helps our second and our third come down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Just let it breathe. Let it be slow, and take your time between these notes, and just don't rush this piece. I think is important. Let these. Let it be, real solemn, I think. So moving on after the second fermata, we have this again, and then we have. Fourth finger. Third and first finger, so that we can do fourth and second right there. But then our second's gonna have to jump up here. Okay, I want to talk about this on the third system, fifth measure, that I do 1, 4, and then we slide up and we do 1, 3, 3, 3, 4, 1. So I do 1, 4. I think that might have been the fingering in the original German tablature. I think it might have been, and that's why I kept that, because I think that just doing your third finger is fine, because then it slides up here, but then it slides back. It's just kind of weird. You go... and it's one less like motion with the third finger, I guess, but you can do your third or your fourth finger. But the reason why I don't slide with my fourth finger is because then the fourth finger has to jump down here for the next measure, which I don't like that. I like let's use our third finger so our fourth is available. That makes sense. Dun, 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 dun. And then this measure here, I did 2-1. I think 3-1 works better. But, so the third to last measure, I do 2-1. You can do that. It's a little weird. I think maybe 3-1 is better. 3-1? Is it instead of 2-1? I think 3-1. Maybe it works a little bit better on Von Edler. Here, so that's pretty much this piece. I think counting it is pretty straightforward. Not sure. I don't think there was any measures with weird rhythms, but they're coming. So let's move on to the Gagliarda. Gerle. This one's a lot of fun, and I have a lot to say about it. I have a lot of opinions about what you can do with your right hand for this. So let's go over it. With the first measure alone, you can pluck with these 3 fingers, or you can jump down with your thumb and just upstroke the C and the A with these 2 fingers, or you can just hit the bass, hit the C and the D with your index finger, and that with your the A with your ring, or your middle finger. So that's one way to. There's many ways to think about how you want to pluck this chord. There's a lot of different ways. I think it's easier to just use 3 fingers. Just use these. Dum, ba, dum. Also, strumming. There's so much in this piece, I think, that you can experiment and have fun with it. And sorry if I'm making it more difficult, but I think that you can have a lot of fun and play these chords differently. So, get the last measure of the second system. We have... Oops. But if you strum, then upstroke with your index right after, boom, you're partying. I think that's one way to do it, and if it works, it works. So I think that's one thing to do. But before I get ahead of myself here, let's go back. Let's go back to the first run that we have here. 4th measure, we have 3 and 4. Keep holding down the 3 and the 4. Then it gets hard. So this, but then the last measure of the first system, we have to move that 2 I I mean, there are ways to kind of cheat it, but this is probably the best, is to do this and then jump your second finger up here. So I want to talk about second system, first measure. I didn't mark it, but hold down that bass, that C, that first finger C. Keep that C down. And actually, no, that's a little more advanced doing as I just did there with the bar, but hold that down for just that measure. Now, final system. So the 16ths are a little tough. So you're gonna have 1 and 2 E and a 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and so let's lead into it. Final system, first measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 E and a 3 and 1 and 2 3 and 1 1 and 2 E and a 3 and 1 do da dee da ba ba do da dee da ba ba bum bum bum. Yeah. Let's move on to Nach, willen, dein. Let's see here. This one has some weird rhythms. This one's weird. I don't know why they wrote out the rhythms this weird, but we've kept it that way. So let's get into it. My advice is just counting these rhythms as what they represent, maybe not in 4. Some of these measures are in 4, but some of them aren't. So you kind of got to be like, you just kind of got to read it as it is. Kind of like mensural notation, like reading medieval or really early Renaissance stuff, or, you know, music without the bar lines, you know. It's kind of like that. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1 and 2, 1, 2, or that gets confusing. 1, 1 and 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 and 2 and 1. That's at least my way of trying to count it. It's weird because some of these measures end up in 4 if you kind of count 2 bars together. So we have, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. If we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Measure 6 and 7 together. If we take that bar out of it, then we have 4. We have 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Then we have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Then it doesn't make sense at the end. It just doesn't rhythmically make sense, and I don't think that it's missing anything. I think that it just was not rhythmically uniform, I guess. I'm really not sure. But this is how it's represented in the music, so we're gonna try and do our best. So we have oops. my fingers are a little out of frame there. But I want to talk about that measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 to 8 is third finger, but then I jump third finger up here, and then we put down our fourth. My reasoning for this, and you feel free to change it if it's more comfortable for you. But my reasoning for this was, instead of putting first finger here, then second, then third, then fourth, that's just a mess. That's just all of our fingers trying to fit in to one fret on all the courses here, on 4 courses. It's just a mess. So my solution for that was we're going to have to jump with our third finger. Yes, that sucks. Yes, that's the sacrifice. But then we at least just are dealing with 3 fingers here. 3 fingers instead of 4. And we don't need to hold. We don't need to hold that. So moving on, coming up to that fermata. Second system, rest, 2, da, da, dee, da, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. For this part, oops, is what I do. This is the third measure after the fermata on the second system. So it's the second system, 4th and 5th measures. So we have this, and then I put my first finger down. Boom. Like that. So we have there's a lot of finger jumping in this one. Sorry, I'm not playing by the rhythms right now. I'm just kind of moving ahead so I can look at these fingers. Third to last measure, we have a slide, a shift here. We want to slide our finger up here and slide our finger back. What I really like about this is this feels like super ergonomic. Like, this feels like why we play plucked string instruments, is because things like this make sense. So third to last measure, the first beat, we have our second finger on that C, but then we slide the C up to the E. Our first finger is already over D, so play that, and then slide it back this way. Now our first finger is already over D, fourth finger is already over B, and music is being made. How cool is that? Just so easy. Just move fingers are already there. None of these jumping around, just that part just feels so, fingers are already there. It's like, it's like your hand was made to do the music. Beautiful. So I hope that kind of helps with this piece. I think counting it is tough. Watch out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th into the 6th, or sorry, 6th into the 7th measure. Those are 8th notes. Those first 2 notes into that 8th measure are 8th notes. I think that's the 8th measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry, 7th measure. Those first 2 notes are 8th notes. So you're getting ba dee da dee dum bum ba bum ba dee da bum. All right, moving on. Wo soll ich mich hinkehren, ich arms? For this piece, I think everything was kind of rhythmically straightforward. Let's see, so we have 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, oops. So up to that repeat, pretty straightforward. Third finger for the third course, except on that second measure, last beat, it's 4-3, and then let go of our 3. Now we have 2 here. So that's where the measure is kind of weird. This one fits two measures together. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have two groups of rhythms of 4 in there, but they group it in this kind of interesting way, right? You have long, short, long, short, long, short, 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 shorter, short, short, long, short, 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 or long, actually, fermata. But yeah, so that second measure of the second system is the one to look out for. We're going to move our second finger over, put our third finger down. Then we're going to put our fourth finger down, and our first finger is going to reach back this way. Then we're going to swap. Our first finger is now going to fall to this string, this course, and then our third finger comes down, and then our 2. So down, long, short, long, short, long, long, short, long, short, long. For the final measure, I think that it's okay to keep your third finger down. And you don't have to end it on the fourth finger. That's how I had it written, but I think that leaving the third finger down is better because we get that good resonance, dissonance here. That then, beautifully musically resolved. And let's move on to the final 2 pieces, which are pretty straightforward in how they're delivered, but there's a lot to say about them. These are the Die andere Regel, Regel und ist ein anderer Art, and the Die drit, Regel, Regel und ist auch eine andere Art. This is the Lute Society of America, right? Not the German Lute Society, so forgive me. So what these are these are very short little exercises that Noah Sidler wanted to give as an example of how to do runs between chords. So we start bum, and then the next one. Just really nice examples of how to get from one place to the next. But besides that, these are excellent tools for isolating what's happening in all these other pieces. For example, in von Edler art, we start out with those 2 voices. But there's movement in between them. This helps kind of isolate those moments so you can think more clearly about how to phrase those moments. So when you have dum da 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 bum, you just want to get to those chords, but you want to get there gracefully. Dum, you don't want to get there like there's nothing wrong with practicing this that way, at least if you're really trying to have the energy and the strength behind every chord, and you really want it to sound powerful. But I think that this is a useful tool for learning how to be flighty with your diminutions, learning how to use them cleverly, learning how to phrase them, and if you want strong and weak notes out of them. So you can experiment, and you can see, you can kind of just practice and work with uh, your own personal phrasing and how to get from one place to the next with all these little notes, with all these little runs in between the two chords. So have fun with it, experiment with it. There's not a lot here, I think, to say. There's, holding some chords, you're alternating thumb and index. Um, but let it breathe and have some fun with it, and make it sound like it's being sung and that you're just filling in these little moments in between. Um, that's really what's happening with with lute music when it's taking uh, vocal music, is that it's adding all these little diminutions and fun little flourishes, but they're they're meant to be just kind of that flourishes in between the chords that represent the words for the text. So I think that's all that I can say. Um, I would appreciate if anyone has any comments to leave them in the comments, because then if the future of anyone watches this and they have a question, we can treat the comment section as the FAQ and build questions and answers there to help anyone out. So yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I hope everything helped. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, any concerns, any note, if you notice any mistakes that I didn't catch. So, yeah, see you around.